interesting stuff there. The Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth soundtracks are
Hello, Dom. Welcome to the stream. It's another guy that is here doing. He does album stuff with me. I was gonna say when you say orchestra, immediately my brain was like, Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. When it comes to orchestra music, that's like the first thing I think of. Man, Kingdom Hearts music, fantastic. I love that stuff. That is good stuff. My audio is being funny again. This is how we do though. It's a professional time over here. His audio isn't coming. Where's his audio then? Yeah, audio is my favorite thing to mess with on the computer. It's really frustrating. I frequently speak again.
I'm speaking right now.
There you go. I wonder how much of the show hasn't had audio. You know what? I'll just have to come back and have you in for a second episode. I'll fix it all. But yeah, I really like orchestral music.
Me too.
I really like it. There was somebody I've been listening to recently named Mouse on the Keys. Just discovered him very recently. Very Kingdom Heartsy. And the name is very right. Mouse on the Keys. It kind of hops all over the place doing crazy stuff, and some of it's really quiet, some of it's really big. It's very fun. I love piano too, though. Piano is probably one of my favorite instruments to listen to.
I mean, it's a gorgeous instrument. There's a reason it's the foundation of like all of, I don't know, any music learning program is going to be like, hey, piano. I've got a bunch of piano on the new record. Even though I'm not a super proficient piano player, I have friends that I can call and have them do it better than I can.
Yeah, get Anomaly on the track. That's another crazy pianist. I really like Anomaly. He's done some tracks with Pliny, actually.
Yep.
He's so good. Man, he really fits like this. I should be drinking wine on the top of a skyscraper party type of piano music. Like, it's very nice. Like, it's a very, like, I don't want to say prim and proper, but it hits a different vibe. Especially because the one album I'm thinking of in particular has a lot of Art Deco design visually, you know what I mean? And
oh, cool.
I love Art Deco. We don't have enough of that. We need to go back to the Art Deco because the structural design, I just really like the golds and the bends and lines. Like it's very nice. It's very pretty.
How do you feel about Art Nouveau?
I will find that out right now.
I don't know. So Art Deco looks like dwarves built it, and
yes.
Art Nouveau looks like elves built it.
Oh, like Nouveau, super Frenchy French Nouveau?
Yeah, super Frenchy, yes.
Yeah. I'm like, I know a... Wait, that's literally one letter off from a Minecraft mod called Ars Nouveau. Wait a second. I wonder if there was...
It's probably the same word, yeah.
Probably, yeah. Oh, it's pretty. Oh, this is pretty stuff. Okay, yeah. I've got magic cards that look like this.
Yeah, it's all green deck stuff.
Yeah, this is good stuff too. This is really pretty.
Yeah. But I like Art Deco quite a bit as well.
Yeah. That's also why I was in Skyrim, man. Oh, man, all those dwarven places they just hit just right. Very good looking. I like gold too. I think that's something natural of like humans though, to like gold. There's something
we like the shiny things.
Yeah, there's
useful.
something like deep and like almost primal. I don't really understand it, but I see something nice in gold. I'm like, ooh, it's good stuff. Like, and it's not like silver. You know what I mean? There's other sort of chromatic colors that are nice, but gold just hits just right. Like me, bit of a nerd, not bit of a gamer. I like Fortnite a lot, right? Fortnite does gold very well. Like just with the style of Fortnite and then the graphics of it. There's some gold characters I have that I'm like, I'll play them forever. I just like looking at the gold of it.
Hey, I appreciate that you know what you like.
Oh yeah, at least I Yeah, I know what I like, and I want to find more to like. So I'm all about that. So do you what kind of do you play other music?
Yeah. I mean, I have done a lot of music for video games in like a dozen different styles of music
I saw
because
that over the past years. I've been watching you make community posts every so often of different albums and tracks that you're playing on with video games and stuff, which is cool. So when I first saw you, you were just kind of doing music, and I was like, "Oh man, he's on video games now! Hell yeah!"
yeah. So I would say that I grew up as a heavy metal kid. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's sort of my bread and butter. Like I understand heavy metal music arrangement like it's in my DNA. Um, and I find that doing other genres of music is like a fun challenge that like I want to be able to do. I want to if somebody says, "All right, can you do, a dubstep track?" and I'm like, "Oh man, never did that before." So let's give it a shot. Let's learn. Let's go listen to a bunch of dubstep music. Let's go look at the tools that they're using to make it. Let's see if I can do that. And I have done that before. Or I've made cutesy music for, like a cute video game menu screen and stuff like that. Like I find it to be a very rewarding challenge to sort of make music that's outside of your normal comfort zone using scales that you wouldn't normally choose or using instruments you wouldn't normally choose. And then once you've sort of maybe not mastered but learned the basics, you can bring that stuff back into, let's say the new album I'm working on. So uh, I will say that I have a metal background, but I've made dozens of styles of music and dozens of genres, and I really enjoy that aspect of video game music.
Yeah, you take music commissions there, sir.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I I don't mind talking about this on stream. I'm looking to expand what I'm doing and making this feel more like a talk show. And I really liked when I'd watch a little bit of different talk shows when I was younger. Oddly enough, something I'd hear in the like sort of between when the camera pans away and the host is talking to the person, they're just there talking. You can't hear what they're saying. Bossa Nova music. Bossa Nova music and talk shows slide together like nobody's business, and I don't know why, but I love Bossa Nova. I've grown up on it from playing Katamari. I'd
I
love
have
to
a bossa
hear.
nova track on my 2016 album, Lunaria. There's a little interlude track
I
on
will
there.
check that because I'm like that's the kind of vibe I'd like to get from it. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is about Bossa Nova. It's very calm. It's very like kind
Oh
of
yeah,
boppy and funky. You know what I mean? Dun 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 dun. You got the little like sort of snare drums in the background. Somebody have the nice slow singing of a lady, French, Spanish, Russian. Doesn't matter. Bossa Nova hits in every language.
oh
It's
yeah.
very good. It's quickly become one of my favorite genres that I've been listening to as of late. I
That's
really like
funny. Like, you do listen to a lot of different kinds of music, don't
it.
you?
Well, yeah, I grew up my mom when I grew up my mom listened to a lot of like B-52s, the Bee Gees, the Mamas and the Papas, Bob Marley, but then there was also like System of a Down and Primus. So I kind
Hmm.
of already had like a weird range of music to listen to, and when I sort of kind of got into things, the bossa nova really that came straight from playing Katamari for the most part. That game is whack. I love that. I bought it on Steam when they remade it again, but it's all bossa nova but through a Japanese lens, so it's a bit unhinged. The Japanese in music, when they take a genre, man, like jazz, oh man,
Hmm.
there's a
I
great
love
album,
Japanese jazz fusion.
dude. I know
Like
it's a little
just
cliche, but
Mario cartoons.
Mint Jams from Cassiopeia, woo,
Oh
that's
yeah.
a good album,
I
very
love
good.
Cassiopeia. I love T Square. Uh, actually, like a lot of old Nintendo music was borrowed from Cassiopeia and T Square.
Really?
A lot of those old composers from Japan were very influenced by
Wow.
the Japanese jazz fusion of the day. Um, I think there's a T Square song called Marigold that was like really close to the Super Mario theme, like really, really close, and it came out a year before Mario came out. Um,
I mean,
So
hey, I would not be surprised. There's sometimes I hear things and I'm like, wait a second, I know that from somewhere.
sometimes when you're writing music, your brain will lead you in certain directions, and you'll be like, "Oh, that sounds good," and maybe it sounds good because you heard it before, like 2 years ago, and you don't realize
So
right
yeah,
away that
do you catch yourself doing that often?
I have definitely done it. Um, not always, but like, oh wait, that was something like. In fact, there's a chord progression that I did on the new album I'm working on, and I was listening back to the track, and I'm like, that actually reminds me of like a track my friend Luke did, and I was like, oh wow, it is like the same thing that Luke did. I just really liked that part, and I must have like internalized it. And it was something that he had written like 10 years ago. And so yeah, I'll text him and be like, hey, thanks for the
Hey, I'm sampling
chord
your music.
progression,
We'll
but
call it a day.
yeah, pretty much. And
uh,
like, there's a little bit of a joke in the scene, like um, like great composers steal like there are ways to do that aren't plagiarism, like borrowing certain concepts or certain chord progressions and then applying your own melodies. Like you have to know what to change. And I'm not trying, like some people will probably think I'm being unethical here, but like literally everyone, all of your greats have done it.
yeah,
Um, I'm
and
sure Mozart ripped off people, like it's fine.
yeah, and sometimes I think depending on what the genre you're going in, you might like it's probably entirely unintentional on some people's parts that some people sort of like you were saying earlier about how you're like, oh wow, there's this thing, turns out it's a minor scale. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
probably some things that people come up with that just end up being the same, and it's just kind of a natural thing of human nature that people in entirely different parts of the world can come up with the exact same thing. We see this all the time, like all the
Yeah.
time. You know,
It,
I watch
it,
a lot of Joe Rogan, and he brings on people that are like ancient civilization guys, and they're like, "Look, man, 2,000 years apart across the world, and they both made pyramids. Maybe that's just something humans do." You know, so it's kind of one of those things where I think sometimes there's things we just do. You know. And obviously, it's not
absolutely.
all the time, but I'm sure there's many
In
cases.
biology, we call it convergent evolution, where sort of different species will arrive around a very effective solution.
Everything becomes a
Um,
crab.
everything becomes a crab. Also, what is it? Like eyes have evolved several different times in different ways. Um, wings have evolved several different times in different ways. You have your um, like feathered wings in birds, and then you have like bat wings, which are completely different. And like they're just really effective solutions that people have arrived around on the same answer to get the job done.
Yeah, no, you said biology. Do you work in biology? Do you have like a
Uh,
biology day job?
so in 2007, 8, maybe I don't remember. I graduated with a degree in cellular and molecular biology, and I was working in some genetics labs.
Wow.
However, work was a little tricky at that point, and jobs like weren't really working out for mostly for federal budgeting issues. There was no grant money or anything like that because we had been in a war with Iraq for the last 7 years before that. Um,
Yep, could put a
and
damper on things.
yeah, and so there was, and honestly, same issues are happening today, to be honest. But essentially, there was no money in science. And at that exact time, I was starting to get a lot of very interesting gigs across the entire country of America. So I started following that because it seemed like fun at the time. And so I have a biology degree, but haven't worked very much in biology. I've mostly been doing music.
Now,
So,
this is like the stoner in me, but I wonder if there's like a cross of biology and music.
um, there definitely is. Like, I know a ton of scientists who are, like, adore the arts, and
Well, I'm
make
thinking more
art.
things like you have, so like birds sing, Like
Yeah.
there's this sort of innate, like they sing. Whales sing. You know what I mean? We've got
Yes,
these.
I do.
We have other animals that sing, and so I wonder how much has really gone into sort of the cross science of music in other species of animals and other things. You know what I mean? Like when you said biology and music, I was like, now when are you gonna make little plants that sing? You know, like because I'm sure there's a point where you kind of like genetically mess around with stuff like that, because we do all kinds of whack genetic messing arounds now.
We
And I
do.
was
I'm a fan of most of it, actually. But
yeah. It's somewhere between, like, it's probably at least a little bit unethical, but it really is genuinely interesting. You know what I mean? I'd like imagine the idea that you could create something living that's like built to do music. Now, actually, okay, here's something totally separate, sort of the same thing. How do you feel about AI music?
um, it fucking sucks.
Okay.
I
Okay. Well, I guess okay. How do you feel? Well, I guess there's a couple of steps to that. So there's a musician I listen. Musician. I'm gonna step around here. I know there's a big clash
all right.
between.
I do have some very specific things to say, but go ahead.
Yeah, I know it's very contentious in the arts and AI. I get it. Like I feel it because I kind of hate AI art. AI music I think can be interesting. So there's a guy I listen to that makes like 80s style music.
Sure.
All I don't know if he makes the lyrics or not. I'm actually gonna have him on my show, so because I want to talk to him. I want to know what the hell it's all about. Some of it kind of slaps, but I mean, like how it's trained based on what it's doing. The singing can be pretty fucking awkward. But what I do really like for AI music is like whack covers.
Sure.
I think in the aspect of making memes and trying, like, I think AI is pretty good. If you want to do silly, funny things, like I love listening to. There's a guy named Glorb, and he makes SpongeBob rap music, like rap drill music. Now he writes up the lyrics and then he feeds it through and has it output Mr. Krabs rapping some of the most vile shit I've ever heard in my life. But damn, it's pretty good. Like, and as far as I know, he only uses like the voices for it. There are some people that compose like whole music for it. I really like when you can use AI to make characters sing things they never would. Life isn't the same after you've heard Squidward singing Metal Gear Solid. That is something different, you know? Like, so in these ways I can appreciate it. I don't like, of course, the scraping of other people's data to create stuff. And something interesting somebody brought up, I don't know if it was Lex Friedman or Rogan, one of the two. I watched them a lot when they got the Tech Bros on. But somebody brought up that they're unsure AI is really going to be something until it can like appreciate music. And then at that point, I wonder, like, what does that even mean when it comes
Yeah,
to
I don't know if
because
that's a meaningful statement.
yeah, exactly. Because, like, will it even be conscious in the first place? It's
Yeah.
weird. AI is weird. I'm a little spooked by it. I can like
You
it
should
for
be a
certain.
little spooked by
No,
it.
yeah.
I will.
I was thinking the other night, I actually almost cried, man. I can be a pretty emotional guy sometimes. I was sitting there playing something and remembering that there's, like, an AI Minecraft, like, generative Minecraft thing. And now there's like Skyrim mods that allow you to use AI to like create more conversation. I'm like, man, we're gonna lose all our game studios, aren't we? Like, I'm so sad.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
why play
actually
anything else ever
genuinely
again?
saddened by the idea that nothing will matter because you could just ask an AI to make it. Okay, hi, I really like the anime Shangri-La Frontier. Fucking good. If you're an anime guy, I don't know if you are or not. Shangri-La
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, Shangri-La Frontier, greatest interpretation of VR video games I've ever seen in my life. It is so good. I am like clutched in my seat every episode. It's so fucking good.
Is that new?
Yes, it's pretty fresh. It's on season 3 right now. It's currently airing on Sundays.
Rad.
It's very.
I'm watching
very
Dan to Dan.
That's good stuff too. Yeah, Don Don's very good. And there's a whole nother region I could go on of much happier things. Talk about anime music. That's a whole nother beast.
Sure.
But
I would like to say a few things about AI music. Though,
no, I
AI
want to
art in
stick on
general.
this because this is an up and coming thing. You know what I mean? This is where we're right up against it. You know what I mean? We're right on the edge of a precipice of a. I don't think we're coming back from it. So I just take it away. What do you think? What's your take on just AI music? I guess.
So what you said about like an AI joke song, like SpongeBob singing Metal Gear Solid, that is without a doubt entertaining. You'll get somebody to smile and, like in some ways, we consume art to be entertained, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't deny that they're like that is reasonably entertaining. I will say it's not art. Um, I think that uh, music truly is, or any art, is the artist sort of interfacing with all of the things that they've learned and putting that into, a piece of music with intent. Like AI art, other than the prompt, has no intent to it. It's just sort of like spaghetti sticking to the wall. And there have been some pretty negative consequences of AI in the music space and other art spaces. Right now, Spotify is having, I don't know if it's a huge problem or not. I think that they're taking that huge problem and using it to make a lot of money, but there's tons of playlists of just AI music. And there's no way that a real artist could ever keep up with that level of throughput. And
Mm-mm.
so what's going to happen is that like all of a sudden on Spotify there's going to be 30 trillion tracks and only 1% of that is going to be by real people because like you can't make enough music. Additionally, I also believe that Spotify is making their own AI music
Yeah.
playlists for background music,
Yeah.
and they're making it so that they don't have to pay anybody.
So,
Um,
can't pause you for a second.
because if they can,
I'm fine
yeah,
with AI music if they just keep it at the corporate level. Because I fucking hate corporate music. I can't stand that shit. You want to fucking
sure.
have an AI feed that bullshit out for you? That's fine. I fucking hate it anyway. Just fuck those. I hate corporate music. I watched a whole long video about that stuff. That's a whole nother thing. Anyways, I'm sorry. Continue.
No, it's all good. But it is very possible that right now Spotify is using AI music to put together playlists. So let's say like smooth jazz or whatever, some like background music, and they'll make a playlist called like smooth jazz for the background of your party or whatever. And what they will do is like pump that playlist to the front of their search algorithms, and it will be their songs that they made, and that way they don't have to pay
Mm,
royalties to anybody.
yeah.
And the thing is there's people who make that smooth jazz. Like that's their bread and butter. That's their thing. That's they like, and they should be. They put in all the work and the training. And to be honest, like those songs wouldn't exist if that data wasn't scraped from them.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so there is that. There are definitely studios who are looking to save a buck because a program director who isn't a musician, and that's very common, or a program director in that might not be an artist in a visual art field. Um, they don't know anything about music or visual arts or whatever, and so, well, why don't we just get AI to do it and we can save a few bucks on our budget? And the thing is those commissions, you asked me if I take commissions, like those commissions are starting to go away um, because people are just choosing to use AI art. And I guess the other thing is AI art kind of sucks.
It does.
Um,
It's all shiny.
like
It's for the
it's very
visual art.
it is pretty shiny. I will say as a joke, as a one-off, like um, SpongeBob singing Metal Gear is good enough for the joke, but it's not good for like
Exactly.
a real use. Because you would have to have a real musician go and chop it up into something usable anyways.
Yeah, you already
Um,
have to sit there, as far as I know. I don't really mess with it at all. But you have to reprompt it, rechange it, readjust everything. You got to go back through
yeah,
again. You might as well just make it yourself or find somebody that can make it. Like, just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's better.
Coca-Cola just did their like AI
Oh, that thing was horrible.
video.
It
It
was
it looked
horrible.
fucking terrible. And like there are real animators whose job it is to like make Coca-Cola commercials and we don't have to pay them now because we can use a inferior, crappier product that is soulless and it is devoid of intent and the things that make art really like stick with you. Like maybe, I had some deaths in the family. Like my dad passed away and my mom just before that. And like in the music that I'm writing, like that sort of grief is like manifesting in the music. It can't like I can't help but have these sorts of things like play out in the way that I am expressing myself. And that sort of thing like is missing from AI music. And maybe that's a superficial thing, but I think it really matters to me. The story of like how and why things are created as opposed to just a prompt. I think that's the magic of what makes art special and long
Absolutely.
lasting.
I mean,
And
art's like
AI
a
stuff is stealing jobs from people and missing a lot of the qualities that make music fantastic and replacing it with an inferior thing that is very shiny, I will admit. And they're in some ways technically astoundingly impressive.
Oh, I
But
don't mean good shiny. I'm saying when you look at a piece of like
oh,
visual
I know
AI
exactly what
art,
you mean.
it's that gross like the light's coming from every
Hmm.
direction. It's this odd smoothness to it. It's gross. I do not like the way AI art looks. It's fucking gross. Like and it's like so like that Coca-Cola thing. Nobody, at least modern audiences and younger people, like you go on Facebook, man, and like they just don't know, but they
Oh, they just
also
don't know.
half of them could also be bots because dead internet theory is just
I know, right?
circling faster and faster and faster. I don't even want to be on the
I
internet
have
anymore,
a
man.
relative, an older relative, that like posts AI art every single day, and like I'm not gonna like dig in on Aunt Kathy, you know, on Facebook and being like, this is, you're wasting resources to steal jobs and like Aunt Kathy. It's fine if she posts a coffee AI art thing, every day or something.
Well,
That's
I'd almost
fine.
say beyond that, it's that people literally there are people like I'll see something. It's very obviously it's like some hot lady, bro. There's like three extra fingers, and I'm pretty sure that's another boob on her leg, bro. Like what's
Yeah.
going on? And people are like, wow, she's so beautiful, wow, so whatever. And I'm like, can you not see, you know what I mean, very obviously that this isn't real? Like I don't know, and it's getting a lot better too, and that's the spooky
It
part
is getting
about
a
it.
lot
It's
better. It
getting
is.
way better, and it's going to be a lot harder to be able to tell fiction from reality. It's very
In
very hard. Like
10 years, I'm not sure what the economy of being an artist is. And if you had asked me 10 years ago what the economy of like current art is, um, I would have no idea because, these landscapes are changing all the time. Like I
mm-hmm.
said, Spotify didn't exist in 2011 and now it does.
And now
And
everyone can have their music up everywhere.
yeah,
Everyone can be exposed to everyone's music, which I
and
like. You know what I mean? I
in
love
some
stuff
ways,
like
yeah,
that.
that's really fantastic because you don't have gatekeepers like record
Yeah.
companies,
I just wish
keeping
Spotify would
people.
fix their shuffle. Come on, guys, your shuffle sucks. Like I have
Um,
1,200 songs and I hear the same 30, and it's like, dude, I don't understand. Their shuffle's pretty bad. But that's kind of besides the point. Their AI shuffle's a bit odd. I don't know if you've ever messed with that, but it sort of tries to find music that you listen to and then play things that are similar to that. But then it gets weird. I think it trips itself up because then it'll start looping into playing that stuff. Then the moment you have something that might be introduces another genre in, then it flips to that genre, and suddenly I'm four genres away from what I was listening to originally. And it's like, whoa, dude, you're doing a bit much.
I think you have a very diverse musical taste, so the algorithm probably doesn't know what to do with you.
That's true.
Um,
YouTube certainly doesn't. That's probably my
yeah,
fault. Sorry, AI. I
uh,
don't mean to confuse you.
but
Actually, I
I
do. Fuck
I
it.
am worried about what the economy looks like struggling to be an artist. Are you familiar with Yngwie Malmsteen?
Oh yeah, absolutely phenomenal guitarist.
Phenomenal guitar player, but he was also like a mid-level like heavy metal artist. He wasn't like selling out stadiums. He was playing clubs and selling some records. Probably mid-sized clubs, maybe 1,000, 2,000 cap rooms and stuff like that. And Yngwie Malmsteen has a collection of Ferraris. Like he would collect them. Um, because the economics of being a musician back in like the 80s and if you sold records back then, you just got so much more money
Mm-hmm.
for that back then. I'm still selling CDs for $10, and
I'm
that
sad I
price
never
hasn't.
bought one.
That's all
I
good.
didn't have any money at
Um,
that concert. I really wanted to get one of those CDs.
yeah, well, they're available on danimalcannon.bandcamp.com.
There you go, guys. Go. I'll get some. I love physical
Yeah,
media, so I'm a big
I
fan
like
of it.
physical media too. Uh, but yeah, if you sold records or albums in the 80s and early 90s, and it started to get bad during the late 90s, but you could have a collection of Ferraris. And now um, Ingve probably couldn't buy a collection of Ferraris with the money that he's getting from Spotify. Maybe he could. Maybe he owns the rights to all his masters and like he's doing great. But uh, I'm worried with the advent of AI, me looking for jobs in the game industry and also commercials and
Mhm.
some other stuff. Like I've done work for Pokemon, Amazon, and stuff like that. Um, are they just going to outsource all that stuff to AI and like those jobs just won't exist? And like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. Like this skill set that, I spent my life mastering, like, is it just not a viable one anymore? And I
Yeah.
get that happens, but it's at the expense of really good art, in
Yeah,
my
I feel
opinion.
like AI is gonna hit the video game industry like crack hit neighborhoods in the '80s. Man, it's bad. Like it's gonna be, and so like I can kind of understand it from some points for technical stuff. When it comes to the
Oh, yeah.
technical, I think AI is the greatest thing ever, helping people to code. Even things like, man, I would love my own little Jarvis in my welding helmet.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the temperature of stuff that's going on, like stuff like that. I'm all for art. Stay the fuck away. Don't fucking touch it. You know what I mean? I think art is inherently a human thing. That's
However, once
me.
it's there, everyone wants to be an artist. Everyone wants to be a known musician. And, like,
Yeah, when
everyone wants
everyone's an
to
artist, no one will be.
kinda like so there's immediately a race to the bottom as soon as that stuff exists. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's gonna be somebody who's gonna use it, who's gonna take advantage of it. And so it's the second that, Suno came out or whatever the, program of the day is, like there's gonna be somebody using it. Like you can't stop it. Like genie's out of the bottle, sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's absolutely. It's kind of a too late now. You just kind of gotta hope that you can work around it, I guess, and hope that you have. So what I was sort of talking about that with somebody else a couple weeks ago, sort of ties in with this is like making sure that you can have a core audience of people that like what you have, so that like as long as you can still keep producing what you like and people don't step away from you. I think having a core audience is now gonna be the more feasible way to do this type of stuff, rather than
It
trying to
is.
branch out and find people, unfortunately. And I think it's because at some point we're going to be so bogged down with AI. Though maybe there might be a point where people realize that, and maybe I'm just too hopeful, but there'll be a point where people go, man, I don't want this. I want to go back to the other stuff. It's like how we've had sort of the mini renaissances of people going back to listen to records again.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
And
we'll have
I
these
listen to
waves
records.
of coming back and listening to real musicians that make real music, which sounds crazy, but we're probably going to get there. There's probably going to be a point where people are nostalgic for actual artists making music, like, which sounds fucking whack, but like, unfortunately, I think that's where we're going to.
I think, you know, the economics of making music, in some ways, it's great because the barrier has never been lower, the cost of entry. But in terms of like bands that are successful or um, other than a couple of people who get truly lucky, and it does happen. I've been really lucky. I've had friends that have been super lucky. Other than that, it's just going to be rich kids who can afford to like
Mm-hmm.
uh, go on tour and do that stuff. Because if there isn't enough money to support these scenes and stuff like that, it's just going to be either people making stuff in their bedroom for fun, and all the people, you know, going on the road and taking their music to places. It's just going to be rich kids.
Yeah, and I still think locally there's probably going to be a lot of like uh, a lot more availability to be able to,
Yeah,
I guess, like have shows,
and
because
there.
there's still something about seeing people do the thing, you know.
So there's been a big shift in a lot of the music communities that I've existed in the last 10 years. And a lot of music scenes that I was part of, like sort of started to fade away. The chiptune scene, in particular, is one of them,
Mm-hmm.
where there used to be this like thriving international scene
Oh yeah.
where like I was able to play in Australia and Tokyo and Europe and in Mexico, and just because I was playing on Game Boys, and there was these amazing scenes in all these places, and they've all started to fall by the wayside, and I think they've, the one thing I've noticed in common is they all started to have problems securing venues because there wasn't a
Mm.
ton of money in it. But if they could find these art spaces and stuff like that, um, they could still throw shows and maybe make a tiny bit of money or at least pay the artists. And now they can't really do that. And it actually mirrors the way real estate has been going because with speculative real estate, people are buying up all these properties and turning them not into venues. Venues are disappearing like all the time. I don't know if you've seen that happen at all in your area, but
Yes,
I've seen
the place you went to, I'm not gonna say where it is because it's very local to me. It's gone, bro.
it.
The
Yeah.
whole bar is gone. There's nothing there. I left. I moved to California for a couple of years. Terrible. Don't ever move there. Visit there is fine. Don't ever live there. Came back and I was like, where is it? Gone. Everyone's like, dude, that fucking closed down like 3 years ago. I'm
Yeah.
like, what do you? That was the best place to get $20 tickets to go see little venues. I saw so many great shows there, and now it's just gone. And it's like, man, that
There's
that sucks. Now I
there's
gotta
a
go to
big issue with
Philadelphia and
venues.
Baltimore and DC, and I don't want to go to
Hmm.
DC to watch a show. Not at all. DC is
But
the
you know,
worst
I used to
place.
play in Philadelphia all the time, and
Philly's great.
they've had a lot of issues with their venues over there. Um, I mean, the last show I played in Philadelphia, and this is kind of a sad story, but like they had to pay a venue, or I had to play a venue, and I did it because it was a show with some amazing artists and some friends of mine, and I kind of wanted an excuse to like get out there and see my friends again. Um, but the money that we got paid at the show, and like it was a pretty like full house at the show, like you could barely move in there. Um, I got paid less than it cost me to park my car for the duration of the show downtown because the venue fees were really high and the like parking was terrible in downtown Philadelphia. And it was like, yeah, that's not sustainable. Like we packed out the entire venue and like still losing money on the show. Um, and that's just because there isn't any venues to like play of a certain size range anymore. And I think it really mirrors the way that real estate has been going in not just this country, but like all around the world. Because it turns out the best thing you could have invested in ever is, in terms of wealth, is real estate.
Yeah,
And
if only I wasn't a
corporations
dumb
figured that
15-year
out.
old who couldn't buy Bitcoin in 2009. I've got
Yeah,
some now,
exactly.
but I done missed out on the good wave.
Yeah, corporations figured out the greatest source of generational wealth was real estate, and then they're like, "Oh, we'll just buy that up."
Yeah, and that hurts for me too because I have been renting for a long time and I want to own a house. You know what I mean? I want to have a family. I want to have kids. I
Yeah,
want to be able to
exactly.
build something up to be able to give them so that they have a home too. You know what I mean?
Hey, it's a beautiful dream.
Absolutely, and it's just getting harder. You know what I mean? It's
It
getting
is.
harder and harder to do that. I go down. So I live in Pennsylvania, a little bit of a docks, guys. I'm in the Amish lands, and I'll go through areas that I knew were once big, beautiful field, just a field with trees. Now they're throwing up an apartment complex. And I'm
Hmm.
just like, man, like it's all apartments. It's all, they're going to just turn us all into rentoids for the rest of our lives. And it sucks
Yeah,
because
that's what they want because
and
that makes
I,
them the most money.
yeah, and I'm pretty American. I like owning things. You know what I mean? I like
Hmm.
having my private property and my place to be, and the fact that I have to think about a potential future where motherfuckers are just buying stuff up, and it's not even just that either. Think about, so there's a streamer I watch, Kirsha, very good VTuber slash journalist thing. I don't know. I love Kirsha. Shout out to Kirsha. You're cool as hell. She's been looking into buying a house. She really wants like an old Victorian house. That's just her vibe. Is old Victorian houses. Fair. They're beautiful.
Hmm.
And she is frequently run into seeing the renovations, the modern renovations that people do, especially like the house flippers on like TikTok and
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
And they take these beautiful old houses and just shred them out from modernity. And I hate modern architecture. Can't stand that stuff. It's all boxes, it's all whites and pales, ivories, and it's just gross looking. Like I don't like that.
Gray,
I come
that clay
from
flat paneling on
yeah, I come
everything.
from an old state, you know what I mean? And there's old Victorian, old colonial houses. You know, you look into an old house where I live and you can feel it's different, you know what I mean? You see even the banister, just the banister going up the steps. You've got a really nice beautiful wood carve up it. Like you could tell there was a craftsman that put the effort and the work into it, you know. And now
For sure.
it's just like just a piece. You know, one of them was so awful. She took out the spiral staircase and put in a normal staircase. How do you get rid of the spiral staircase? It's the coolest thing ever, man. And it was wooden. Imagine the work you had to put in to carve out a wooden spiral staircase and put that together and engineer that. And then somebody just rips it out in 2 days to just put in this ugly, just normal set of stairs. You know, and this happens a lot with these houses too. Is like a lot of our old beautiful constructions are just disappearing. It's such a shame. It's a big
But yeah,
shame.
I didn't mean to get into a big talk about economics, but I do
Hey,
think
no,
about
that's look. I talk about whatever,
sustainability
man.
as it relates to art and
I think a
you
lot of
know,
it's related too, though. You know what I mean? You can make a
yeah,
lot
for
of
sure.
cross comparisons.
I myself, I've been in every metric an extremely successful musician. However, I'm still struggling to make it work. Struggling to make the money make sense. Because I want to buy a house and have a family too. Um,
Absolutely.
and uh, I'm trying to figure out the best way. You kind of almost have to be 10 steps ahead, you know. You need to in 2020, be into TikTok, and then in 2025 you need to not be on TikTok
Because
anymore.
it just
Like,
got banned, and now we've got red
yeah,
here. Now you've got to deal with that. Oh
exactly.
wait, TikTok's been unbanned. All your plans you canceled, put them back on the board now.
It's
And
so
TikTok's
difficult to
also
know where it's going to move to.
yeah, and
Um,
something like that too. You can't tell. So for instance, I occasionally make dumb content about an anarchy Minecraft server that I play on. Just made a mundane video showing off big. Somebody made a statue of the big Jesus statue that's in Brazil, that real big one with his arms outstretched.
oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and
Might be
somebody
Ecuador.
could be. I know it's a Spanish speaking country. Regardless, it seems to be a thing that people in anarchy servers like building. They just like building them. I've seen them on like 4 or 5 different servers. Big giant Jesus made out of obsidian. Um, wait, where was I even? My
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. My brain just farted on where I was even
I
going
do
with
that
it.
all the time.
What were you just saying?
Uh, I don't know, something about big Jesus statues in Brazil, in Minecraft. You were talking about your Anarchy Minecraft server?
Yeah. Oh, TikTok. Okay. So I just a
Yeah.
mundane video. I just put on a dumb little track behind it, posted it, banned in an hour. Huh? For no reason, wouldn't give me an exclamation. There's no way for you to appeal stuff on TikTok, apparently. And
Hmm.
that was the one time I'd ever even used it. I have never used TikTok aside uploading videos on it from my computer. Didn't even use my phone for it. And it's like, well, why do I want to be there? You know what I mean? I already have enough problems on YouTube. I do a different channel under a different name where I'm a very spicy guy who likes to shitpost, and YouTube hates me for it. They can't stand me. I like to think I'm funny. YouTube doesn't think I'm very funny. And so there's also struggles with that. If I want to make music videos, there is something I made I was so proud of. I spent so long working on this. It was a beautiful music video for a mashup artist I listened to named William Moranci. Shout out to William Moranci. If you want to listen to crazy mashup music, check that guy out. It is an amazing song that was a mashup between Radiohead
So you
and Queen.
enjoy.
Enjoy what? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, you cut out for a second, so I thought you stopped talking.
No,
Go
I could
ahead.
just pause very suddenly. No, were you gonna ask me? So I enjoy what?
So you enjoy making music videos, like that's like a fun.
Yes,
You sort of
it's.
see the thing in the music,
Oh
like, and
yes.
that's a fun artistry. In fact, I love that you do that because it means that like the art that you or the music you consume was compelling enough to like inspire you to make. your own art around it or inspired by it. And I think that's like the hallmark of like successful music.
Well, thank you.
Um,
Thank you. Yeah, I really do. I first got into doing editing just because I wanted to make something and I couldn't be bothered to pay somebody to make a meme. That's silly. So Vegas Pro Studio 14 was on sale on Steam. You can't even buy
I've
that on
used
Steam anymore.
Vegas.
Vegas Pro 14, shout out, love it. It's great. I am not paying for Adobe. I don't care. I'll die on Vegas Pro 14 if I have to.
I switched over to DaVinci Resolve because I didn't want to
Okay.
pay the Adobe tax.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And so I kind of got into doing shit posting and doing funny stuff, and then it started on a mashup by another guy named Neil Cici Arega.
Yep,
Probably, yeah. I'm
Neil's
like,
fantastic.
us people, we know Neil. I'm like, if you've been around long enough, you know Neil, or you know Neil, but you don't know that it's Neil. I've blown
Yeah, yeah.
people's minds. I'm like, it's Lemon Demon. It's the Harry Potter Puppet Pals guy, and they're like, what? Like, it's that man's talented, very talented guy
Mhm.
over there. But he did a really good song because he did a couple of mashup albums. It was Mouth Sounds, Mouth Moods. They were all very good. And so I made one on there. That music video messed me so much I started tearing up watching my own video as I was making it because I was like, oh, I see the vision. So it was YMCA, but played along to the song Time. It's in that Matthew McConaughey space movie Interstellar.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
so it's YMCA but time, and so it's like somber, it's sad, and somebody said something, and this is what happened for both of these music videos is that I saw somebody in the comments say, something about like YMCA videos or YMCA buildings being torn down, and I was like, oh, that's sad. This song is sad. Oh, and so I started looking up. There's a lot of videos of YMCA buildings being torn down. By the way, didn't know that until I started making this. And it's just this whole really sad YMCA thing, and you're just watching
Oh,
buildings
that's funny.
fall down over and over again. And I'm watching it going, the YMCA's are leaving, bro. It got me like right in my feels. I'm like, oh no, this is crazy. I can't believe I even set this up. This is a pretty popular video on my channel, actually. But the one to kind of fast forward to the other mashup guy, he did Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody with Paranoid Android from Creep. What a mashup. I'm telling you, this man makes things that should put him in jail. The mashups he makes are so unreal. It's really crazy stuff. We're talking like Killing in the Name of with the Bee Gees. Like, he's crazy. And so I kind of sort of started working together, and I'm like, well, if it's a mashup, then I want to start mashing up all different kinds of things that I've come across having to do with either Paranoid Android, specifically, that's Marvin from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Amazing book series. If anyone hasn't read it, you've got the best sci-fi absurdism out there. Rick and Morty ain't got shit on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for wacky sci-fi. It's so, plus it's British. They kind of do that very well. They do the absurdism thing very well. And so I started putting things together. I was like, okay, I know about this really old, I used to really like watching stop motion when I was younger. That was probably the first thing I got into when I was on YouTube, was discovering stop motion animation. And there's a great classic one from many years ago of Bohemian Rhapsody done on Legos. So I grabbed a little bit of that, grabbed a little bit of this. I saw somebody was doing a cover, so I grabbed a little bit of the video of that. And so I was putting all this stuff together. And it was originally somebody had said, hey, this would be great alongside some Wayne's World. I was like, oh yeah, Wayne's World. They got the whole fucking scene where they're in the car dancing and jamming to Bohemian
Right.
Rhapsody. So I started sliding that in. Everything's fine. Everything's cool. And then I made the mistake of putting in 3 seconds of visual, no audio, of an anime that I really like called Cromartie High, where they have a guy in there named Freddie. He looks like Freddie Mercury, straight up. He doesn't talk. He doesn't do anything. He sings, and they're like, it's so funny because when they first introduced him, they're like, we don't know what his name is, but I think like Freddie's the right name. Yeah, we'll just call him Freddie. It's a lot of musical influences in that show. 3 seconds got me a worldwide block on that video instantaneously. Couldn't be seen for months. It just got released out, and I don't even know why, but it got released from being held in YouTube jail like 3 months ago. I worked months on this fucking song, bro. Months. I toiled away in my brain working on this, putting it together, and then some random Japanese company somewhere is like, well, Japanese are very rough on their IP. And
They
I've
are.
only learned that kind of recently, so I kind
Hmm.
of understand why they're so hard on it. I don't know why they
Their
released
culture is a
it.
little different over there. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit. Pokemon's really rough right now. The
Hmm.
Pokemon versus Power World thing is crazy. Which is kind of how I'm learning about that actually, because they are very, very. You are not allowed to catch things in a ball. You're not. They sealed it. You're not
They
allowed to
own that.
throw
Yeah.
a device that releases a monster. It's crazy. Anyways. So yeah, that is another issue when you're coming up with stuff, especially on my side where I want to be able to make a music video. A lot of what I do is kind of mashup. You know what I mean? None of my
Right.
videos are really original content in that I'm taking things I know and putting them together to create a new idea. And a lot of times that lands me in copyright jail. Over half of my videos are all copyright, which also means they affect the viewership. If your stuff is copyrighted, it affects how much people are viewing your stuff and how it gets suggested to people. And the fact that they have that control
100%.
over it hurts. Like
It's
half my
pretty
channel is
tricky.
just obliterated because of that.
I uh I definitely have dabbled in some similar things as you, and I think what you're doing is awesome.
Well,
Like
thank you.
it's mashups, right? Like in the same way that Neil Cicierega is creating these mashups, you're doing the same thing visually, and also back in like 80s hip hop, they would sample records and then mash them up in like
Mm-hmm.
uh in interesting ways and create new pieces of art, from existing pieces. And like, unfortunately, that gels so poorly with like algorithmic content ID stuff. Um, and yeah, I don't know if I could ever make something these days that like wasn't 100% my own, just because I'd be so worried that, uh, I'd get copyright stricken down and
And
like,
even more, somebody just comes after you, like a whole, directly comes to cease and desist or stop it. It's like,
yep,
well, and it was even more frustrating for me because I'm like, I can't run ads. I have,
yeah, of course.
I'm not here to make money. I'm not running ads. I can't run ads. You won't let me. So what's the problem here? You know what I mean? It falls under fair use, and fair use is very muddy. It's very, very
Hmm.
muddy. I've learned. You think fair use is fine, but it's really not. It's a very gray area, and unfortunately, I think a lot of the system is automated, and so
It
there's
is.
a lot of it that you can't mess with. So, and even in that sense, like I made a video that was um, music video for Death Grips, another great band. I love Death
Yep.
Grips. Seen that guy live. That shit is intense. I was up in the rafters. I could
Oh, I'll
feel
bet.
my chest rocking from that. It was so good. And in that one, it's the song Culture Shock. So he's like culture shock, future self, fuck yourself. And so I'm like, okay, what kind of like culture shocky things can I throw in here? Stuff that's just like really whack. And so I threw in a video. There was a couple of different pretty kind of messed up videos. I was on WorldStar looking for content for this thing. It was crazy. So to be fair, I was probably gonna get smacked at least a little bit for that.
Right.
But the two videos that they got me for were videos that were already on YouTube. And they switched up what it was. At first they were like, "Oh, you're promoting violence." I was like, "Where? Where? Show me where." Didn't give me a timestamp. Week later, they got back to me, switched it up and said, "Oh, you're promoting drug use with this video." And I'm like, "It's the
And you
context,
can't argue
man."
with a robot too, because it's
Yeah,
just like,
you can't, because I'm trying to have you understand the context that this is a song about things that are bad that people are doing, and I'm showing you a video of a guy that may or may not be snorting something in the middle of a food court at a mall. There's not even and I get
could
that.
be pixie sticks.
Yeah, because you never know what it could be. Look, I get that I'm worming my way around that, but you still don't know what it could be. If you understood the context behind it, I'm sorry, but why can I guess it's a bit of a whataboutism, but why can I literally go into my trending worst place on YouTube? Also, trending is so cooked,
Oh yeah.
and see some of the most vile popular music, particularly unfortunately, and a lot of rap and hip hop, and they're good. They're good, man. I'm sure they've paid YouTube off and everything, but then when I try to do something that I think is a bit more succinct in directing out a thing with a feeling and a setting, they're just like, no. I'm like, but Come on. Come on,
Yeah, I
guys.
mean, they're probably releasing on, a record label's channel, and that record label has a representative
Yep.
at YouTube that they can clear everything at ahead of time.
It's sort of like what you
And
said with the rich kids, you know what I mean? When you don't have those connections and you don't have the
yeah,
ability to do what you want about it, you're under their foot.
and like I get it. YouTube is attempting to moderate their, you know, place because you can't put up everything because
Well, yeah, I mean,
problematic.
I remember back in the days when people were posting just straight up porn. Just
Yeah,
straight up porn on there, and that's not good. I was on there as a kid, you know what I mean? I understand that.
yeah, and also, companies like Warner Brothers were like, "Hey, you're hosting our movies and stuff like that. People uploaded them. We're gonna sue you for $1 billion unless you, you know, uh, find a way to take them down." So they had to develop the content ID system, and I don't think it's a particularly good system, but I also understand why it's there. It just really sucks sometimes.
Content ID got introduced, and there are so many YouTubers I watch because I used to be a bit more into like watching commentary stuff. I don't know why I couldn't bother with it now, but a lot of times they also were struck with Content ID. There's a guy I used
Hmm.
to watch named It's a Gundam. He's a very funny guy. I liked him a lot, but he's neutered himself. He neutered his comedy because of stuff like this. You know what I mean? He's neutered what he's done because of YouTube's rules and regulations. And it's such a shame because YouTube is the biggest platform. And this
Yep.
kind of runs into being the biggest issue is where do you go? And then when somebody says, "Well, look, I've made my own platform," the platform gets yeeted. You know, look, we could say what we want about the content on BitChute and on these other places. However, you're still able to put your stuff up on there. My videos that have gotten yeeted on YouTube, ain't none of them got touched on BitChute. They're fine. You know what I mean? But nobody's gonna watch them. Who's on BitChute? Fucking boomers and really, really weird motherfuckers you probably don't want to talk to, honestly.
It's true.
I don't want to talk to
Um,
him, and I'm a weird motherfucker. You know, so like YouTube being this like massive dominant culture, the cultural thing makes it so that there is nowhere else to go. And then that's the mindset that everybody has. It's kind of like, what is it? It's called the broken glass theory, where when you're somewhere and you see broken glass like in a bad neighborhood, people kind of like, no, I guess it's not that. It's that like somebody else will call 911 theory. It's sort of kind of similar in the idea of like once a number of people kind of start locking into that idea, nobody else is going to step out of that idea. And so now everyone says, where would I go except YouTube? Rather
yeah.
than everyone collectively going, let's go somewhere else, you know? And then some people go, oh man, this might be it. This might be it. But then half the time the platforms also just don't perform as well. They just don't have
Yep.
nearly enough capability that YouTube has, which is a shame because honestly, YouTube's kind of broken. YouTube mobile is broken. Like YouTube as a system, I feel like is really tough. Like there are channels that I watch where I'll subscribe, I'll click the bell, and I still won't get what notifications for them until a day and a half later. It's like, what do you mean? Like I'll upload videos, and it'll be like a week later. My fiance's like, "Oh yeah, there's the notification for it." Bro, it's been a week. What happened? Like I don't understand.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's just their system for stuff like that now. But it could also be the other thing is that I could be blacklisted. Like I said, I like spicy stuff. The people I watch can be spicy. They could be blacklisted in a way that YouTube forcibly makes it so that their notifications don't come until later. And people can't tell me that's bullshit because that's real. You could easily do that. We've seen it time and time again. Shadow banning is a real thing. It is absolutely a real thing. You can see the metrics in real time happen. So to say that it isn't something and that there aren't all these other issues on top of, probably a little bit of incompetence on their part, depending on what department and what thing it is, it's just a shame. It's a big shame because I like YouTube.
Yeah.
I love YouTube. It's one of my favorite places. We built whole cultures, whole communities, as much as I don't like that community word. We all these groups of people, all this stuff. YouTube is so integral, I think, almost to like the internet. Just as a whole, YouTube is such a dominating force.
I think YouTube is just as powerful, if not more powerful, than like TV is right now.
Oh yeah, I skipped out on TV. I stopped watching TV in middle school. I'm 30. So
Yeah.
about middle school, I stopped watching TV. I was like, I turned it on, and there was just like repeated stuff on Cartoon Network, And then I flipped the channel and I saw like toddlers and tiaras, and I was like, "What is this?" Oh, I'm out of here. I can't do it. I told my mom, I was like, "You can have my cable box. You don't have to pay for mine anymore. I got YouTube." Also,
Yep.
I just started watching this cool stuff called anime. Don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's way better than whatever Cartoon Network has out right now. So my whole viewing change just moved right over to YouTube. And like I said, I only just got on Spotify recently. I've been using YouTube to listen to all of my music, watch,
Same.
watch content creators of various kinds, shows that they've created. I mean, YouTube really is a wonderful thing. And I wish they'd just get off their ass and fix it a little bit and make it a lot less harder for creators to create on there.
I've been thinking a lot about like platforms and what is the least hostile platform that's going to be sustainable where um, I can put up stuff and hopefully make enough money to survive on it as a creator. And I'm thinking about moving over to Patreon.
Patreon's big. Patreon's very big.
Yeah,
That goes into what I said earlier about building your own community. Patreon is very big for that.
I think that's the way I want to go, and I've been sort of brainstorming, how exactly I'm going to do it. What's the value proposition? Like, how do I get people to sign up for it and stay signed up?
You know
What kind
what?
of
It's a
content?
really good thing I'd suggest because I was suggesting this to somebody else. Private shows.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I can do
Private little
that too. I know
concerts.
how to
I
run
mean,
my own stuff. Yeah.
half your stuff is digital. Just throw it right up, play in your room, set up a little studio, like little backdrop and everything. Absolutely, you
Hmm.
could host your own shows. And it's the only thing like if I was doing this that I'd feel a little bit sad about is that you don't get the audience in front of you. You know what I
It's
mean?
tricky. I did some shows like that during COVID.
Now,
Um,
to step into
a-
that a little more though, a VR show, a VR chat show could be crazy.
I could do it. I experimented with what was before VR chat. I think it was like a Connect
I
doing
think so.
motion
My
capture.
brother does VR stuff, but I don't know pretty much anything about it personally.
Yeah, I'd have to learn a lot of tech, but who knows, maybe.
Yeah.
If I got enough people. And also the people in the Patreon would have to also like be familiar with that tech too. Um,
Yeah, and that's also a step. Now you can always play VR chat without being in the VR. Like when
oh,
my
you
brother
can't.
was
Okay.
testing it out with my laptop because he wanted to consider getting a computer, he just loaded it up and he could see it. I could see it on the screen while he had the helmet on, but I could also just see everything on the screen right there. So so like I watch a lot of VTubers. Don't know if you're familiar with them.
I am, yeah.
They're the next big thing, or have been for a while, I guess. I only just recently started watching them in the last like year or two.
One of the weirder jobs I got was doing the theme song for a VTuber cam girl.
Oh, who? Which one was it? Melody? Was it
It
Project
no,
Melody?
but I know Melody. Melody has actually played some of my tunes on her stream as
That's
well.
not surprising. She's
Uh,
pretty cool. Melody's a cool person when she's not doing
I
the other stuff. I've popped into some of her normal streams.
I know at least one person involved with running Melody, so um but another there was another developer that I worked with um who actually worked in VR games. Like that's what we worked together doing two different VR games. Um and this is back like when the Oculus Rift was coming out and Palmer Luckey was on the cover of Time magazine. Um and he got out of making VR games because it turns out that VR is a little eh.
There's some
Um,
funky stuff that goes on in there. That's the big that
yeah.
yeah, that's and I think
So
that
now
comes
for the past few
from
years, he's making a cam girl, and he got
yeah.
me to do some music for it.
Yeah, there's unmoderated spaces, especially in places like that, I think can be pretty dangerous.
For sure.
Yeah, and
Uh,
as a guy who hates mods, I do not like Jannies. I'm not a mod guy, but when it comes to things like that, I can understand where it's like it gets a little weird in there sometimes, especially because I think it's a different mindset when you're living in a digital world. It's like it's different.
Yeah, I think some people get more bold and do things they wouldn't do in real life, and
Just like you would the internet. You know, the moment you're
yeah,
anonymous, I could go up to the president, call him a big fat poop head. Because who fucking
yeah,
cares? It's on the internet. I
I would
actually
definitely do that.
constantly,
By the way,
I constantly laugh about this. This is why I kind of love Twitter. I kind of really love Twitter because it's such an unhinged
you're
and
the
insane
only
place.
one now.
It's because I love unhinged things. That's my thing. I
Uh,
love insane stuff. And but even before how it is now, just that you could get on there, it doesn't matter. Oh, to celebrity, I don't like you. Hey, fuck you. You can tell him personally, right to his fucking face. All he has to
yeah,
do is
but they're
block
real
you.
people, though. They're
No,
real
yeah,
people.
exactly. No, and I don't necessarily think it's a good thing. I just think it's a wild thing, and it comes
It is a
into that.
wild thing.
It comes into that when you're online and you have that anonymity, which I think can be a very important. I think being anonymous online to be able to do your own thing is important, but also people use it to kind of get really crazy. And it's just wild that like in the internet span, you can just be right up next to celebrities or other people and have whole interactions, be them good, be them bad. And I think it just changes people's mindsets as a whole. Plus,
They
I've
really
always kind
do.
of considered when you're on a social media, it's kind of like everybody's in the same apartment building. Um, and sometimes you just have like people across the hall. You just wish they'd shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? And then you could block them. I guess I don't know. Social media is a whole weird thing in itself. I was just telling my fiance I miss MySpace. I really do.
MySpace is
MySpace was
pretty cool.
cool, man. You could customize your profiles and
Hmm.
it was so cool. It just hit different, and now like it
I
doesn't even
definitely,
really exist,
I've
honestly.
had some interesting experiences.
Yeah.
I've definitely had some interesting experiences with, I guess, interactions with people online.
Mm-hmm.
Of like anonymous people, and some hate brigades and some other stuff as well. My girlfriend is a relatively famous person on the internet as well, and like it can get really scary really quick. Um, and yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know exactly what I want to say here, but I will say that like I don't do edgelord shit online anymore, or at least I try not to, because I have experienced and seen the other side of that. Um, and it can be really nasty, like really nasty. And like, and it affects you. You think it wouldn't affect somebody where they're like, oh yeah, that's just some rando on the internet. And sometimes it is. But other times, like, man, that stuff like really sticks with you where like, oh, I just need to log off for like 2 weeks because
Mm-hmm.
like I'm just depressed now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and people can be scary, like really scary. Um, I've had people uh tag like people like developers I've worked with and be like, you should fire this person because blah blah blah, um, or whatever, and try to get you fired from your
Which
job.
I think is a
Or
wild thing. Like I just
it
like
is a wild thing.
I'm a person who thinks that one should keep these two things separate. When I go to a job, my job doesn't know what I do on the internet. I keep these things very separate from each other. You know what I mean? There's a very important to
Yeah.
keep away. Sometimes, depending on what it is, I feel like it's not right for a company to then throw you under the bus for what I'd say at
Hmm.
times can be pretty mundane things.
Yeah,
There's
they can be.
obviously some things people say very inflammatory. Still don't know if it's worth them costing their job. Maybe it depends on the type of job they have, if they're the
It does
representative of a
depend,
company. But
and
like
there
if
are
I'm just a
some.
guy who's under my hood welding, why do you care that I go online and shitpost? You know what I mean? Like I think there's levels to it. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of nuance that goes into these things.
There are levels to it. But there's a reason that, you specifically were like, I'm not going to say where I'm from, actually. And I don't think celebrities get that right to privacy,
No, not at
for a
all.
bunch of reasons.
Yeah.
Their life is an open book for various reasons. And like they don't get a choice, you know, like, hey, my name is in the credits of this game, like, which is good. It gets me more work, but it also means that, if you want to tag the developers I've worked for, you can. Um, and I guess like celebrities don't get to be that anonymous person on the internet. So when you like, I really do think that after experiencing some stuff and seeing some stuff, I think people should be a little bit more empathetic when online and don't be a piece of shit.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if
Like
that's a controversial take,
yeah. I mean,
but
my favorite thing to
but
get
I
on the
was a piece of
internet
shit
do
when I
is
was a kid. So,
yeah. I
you
mean, I
know,
spent literally all morning today arguing with people about Pokemon on Twitter for
yeah,
hours. I love it.
you
It's
know,
so much fun.
uh,
Debating though, you know
I've
what I mean? That's a bit different. When I get on, I like doing that. When I get on my YouTube, I like to shit post and make some funny things where I'm not attacking people in particular, but I'm doing some things that some people might consider a bit more offensive, and it's like, you know, it's fine. You know, I don't watch it because
yeah.
I like being a shithead, but not being a shithead towards anyone in particular, which is a bit more of a chaotically managed type of deal. You know, a bit
I mean,
more.
I argued about how the spell dispel magic works in Dungeons and Dragons on Reddit with a guy. I was wrong, by the way. I found out, but um, I
That's
definitely
the oh my god.
got into
I
it.
man, I love. Sometimes I really like being wrong. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
sometimes I like being wrong.
Sometimes I
Not
like
always.
it. I'm not really sure why. Yeah, most of the time you're like, oh fuck. You know, I don't even want to admit that I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I just want to like step away from it and just be wrong. But sometimes I can enjoy being wrong, and sometimes I'll even have snarky responses to me being wrong, and it's like, are you being retarded on purpose? Well, I don't know, maybe.
I do find that that stuff like sticks with me though, and I actually stopped making music for a while because I was like a little bit too depressed and chronically online. And
Mm,
I found that that stuff was so distracting to me that I had trouble focusing. And I really had to sort of like change the way that I interfaced with social media and online and what topics I would like engage with and not engage with because certain things would just wind me up and I would be thinking about them nonstop, living rent free in my head for hours and it
that
would
was
distract me.
yeah. That was literally me today. So like a small example. I was talking about. You ever played Pokemon games?
I played a little bit of Pokemon.
Okay, that's fine. Not you don't need to know much about
I'm
Pokemon.
familiar with I'm familiar with Pokemon.
Okay, so I was talking about how I personally feel like the Switch games have failed. I don't like them. I love Pokemon. I love it to death. I've got a special edition Giratina from my Platinum version sitting here on my desk. Like I love Pokemon. So I was talking about how you know there's certain generations are better, and there's the Generation 5 was for the music. Generation 5 was like groundbreaking. So many different things they did in that game really were groundbreaking to the point that most people didn't like Gen 5. Gen 5 is a game that people are coming back to, which was Black and White and Black and White 2, where they're like, oh, these were actually really good. It's just it was so different at the time that it really rubbed most people the wrong way. Why is there an ice cream cone Pokemon? This doesn't make any sense. Well, I mean, sure, but why is there a Pokeball Pokemon in the first gen? Come on, guys, you're just splitting hairs at this point. But the music was really good, and the gyms, because each gym in Pokemon you go into and it's got the gym theme, and then you go up to the gym leader, and the gym is designed around different themes of the gym. And then I was describing how really it's probably the best gen for that. There's no other game that when you step into the bug gym, the music shifted. It was the same song, but all the instruments shifted to match what was going on there. When you go into another gym in that area or in that game, the music shifts again. It's the same song, but now they've changed the instruments and the tone again. It's amazing. It's so cool. Every other game has been, this is the gym song. You're going to hear this song every time you walk in. They were like, hey,
Right.
here's the gym song, but it's different. You know, oh, it's different again. Oh, it's different again. It was really cool. And somebody replied to me and said, man, Moxie's gym was just a room. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. What? Moxie, okay, she is a punk artist. She's really mad at her dad, as punk artists I think tend to be. And she performs in a basement venue. Yeah, she's in a room. It's in a basement. It's punk. It's what they're doing. Like, you're not understanding that. Oh, dude, I was mad as fuck. I'm like, how do you not get the context for this? I was so mad. I was stuck on it. And it's such a little thing, too. I get stuck on little things, like, all the time, though. But I do feel that. And honestly, I think part of that is that just we weren't equipped for social media. We were not
Oh,
Bill.
Oh,
That shit,
nobody's equipped for that.
nobody's even equipped for the internet. Again, it's like the apartment thing. You suddenly put the entire planet together in one big fucking room. It's not good for the human brain, you know what I mean? We're only built to even know a certain number of people and keep them in our heads at a time. Like, and now you've got thousands upon thousands of people that you're interfacing with at a time. And you know, I post one funny thing on Twitter and my phone's blowing up and I'm like, oh god, my phone, can it please just stop? It's just likes after likes. And even something like that, something little like that, I don't want a fucking phone dinging at me all day. I made a clip on my YouTube channel of Alex Jones screaming. That's all he did. He was on a podcast. He was getting really hype and excited, as he does, and the lady turned around and went shh to calm him down a little bit, and he whipped around and went ah! It's like in her fucking just. It was so intense and so sudden. I was like, oh, it's great. I'm posting it up. I'm gonna use this for a clip later for some dumb stuff, and that shit blew up. It's got like 250,000 views on it, bro. All week my phone was blowing up. I had to put my phone away. I was like, I can't do this. I can't look at this. There's all these comments, all this stuff. People are now getting into arguments in my stuff, and I'm trying to sit there and read it. And I don't moderate chat. I let people do what they want in my chat. That's you do your thing. I'm not with that. And I'm just reading this stuff and trying to absorb it. But then like somebody says something absolutely dumb, and I'm like, don't say anything, dude. Just don't get yourself wrapped up in it, man. These people are gonna keep arguing no matter what you do or say. Just let it go, man. And like stuff like that. Just if you have something blow up unexpectedly, you know what I mean, and you've got all these things coming at you from a million directions, where I can understand where somebody, there's a meme on Twitter where it's, oh no, it left the target audience because algorithms do that thing. And so you have something that's funny amongst your group of people, something in the algorithm picks it up, or somebody a little bit bigger shares it, boom, there it fucking goes. And now suddenly you're inundated by all these people, and it's like, you're not built to deal with that. You know what I mean? You're not equipped to deal with like 300 people all coming at you at once with different opinions, different levels of opinions, different reasons. And then sometimes even in one thing, people get so up on debating, I think. I like debating here and there. I think it's more of a blood sport thing that at the end of the day, neither person steps away from the debate having changed their mind.
No, they
For the
haven't.
most
It
part.
turns out debate's a terrible way to like discuss
Yeah.
that.
I think it's fun to banter ideas, but if you're sitting down like somebody like Destiny, no. That's unhealthy. Don't do that. That's unhealthy behavior. That guy is just an unhealthy guy, though. I think he needs to lay off the meth. But when you get in debates like that, then you start doing things like, for instance, when somebody was talking to me about the Pokemon thing, they had 5 things in one paragraph, and I'm like, fuck. You know how much limitation I have on Twitter to fill out a response to this? Because I'm not paying for Twitter Blue. I would for the bigger access of availability to type. Literally, I'd pay for Twitter Blue just so I can type paragraphs. Because I can't sit here and break down
Yeah, but nobody's reading that shit.
Exactly, and that's the other part too, is nobody fucking cares, so why am I putting in the effort anyways? Why do I care so much? You know what I mean? And then I start spiraling into like nonsense. Social media is bad. Social media is very unhealthy. I've really tried to stick myself into just using it as a way to post things, but I just can't help myself. And then I'm like, fuck, man, I should just uninstall this shit. But then if I do, I lose all that reach that I could be having for stuff that I'm doing, you know. And it's just, it's a big struggle. It
is, and I myself have struggled with all of the things that you've said. Like, some of it is having 300 people in your replies telling you to die, and some of it is like just getting caught up in a topic or something like that, and it just lives with me. And my brain is definitely not designed for that, but I do use all of them because I want to share my art, and I need to promote my projects. Like, I go on tour and it's like, hey, I need you to come out to these shows. Like, I need to find ways to get you to know about it. Like, that's an important part of being a musician.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays it's kind of like that. If you don't have a cell phone, you're kind of screwed. If you're not promoting your stuff on the internet, what are you doing? You know, that's where a lot of people are. I mean, obviously there's still a real world out there. Twitter is not everything. Twitter is an incredibly very small portion of us, and half of those.
The internet is not real life.
Yeah, the internet's not real life, and half of those fuckers are bots anyways. But it's a really good method for getting your stuff out there and getting your stuff blown up. That's kind of why I do this. A part of my show is taking artists that I feel like aren't listened to as much. Not necessarily you. You obviously have a big thing. I just wanted to talk to you
I
because you're a
could.
cool guy. You know?
I'm still working for
Yeah,
it,
I mean,
right?
look, I could go up to any of my personal circle of friends and go, "Hi, do you know Danimal Cannon?" No. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let me show you. You know what I mean? And that's why I like what I'm doing here is that I like having this outlet that I could provide for people to have something shared where they don't necessarily have to exclusively rely on these couple of places. Hey, I'm here too, man. I've got an audience of people who would love to hear all of this interesting new stuff, you know, and that's
And I appreciate that.
yeah, that's a bit. It's something I've always wanted to do too. I always felt like because I'm a guy, I'm pretty hipster. I listen to a lot of things and absorb things that people don't know about, and then I spend like I'll listen to one thing like I'll find an anime, then I'll show it to people for the next like month and a half. Oh, here, check this out. Oh, here, check this out. Oh, here, check this out. You know what I mean? I like sharing that stuff, and being able to do that for people is a lot of fun. And if you can have an easier way of doing that through me, let's fucking do it. You know what I mean? That way,
yeah.
you know, it's even like I was gonna offer you if you want to play music. You know what I mean? That's I'm you know, get fucking shows on here, get a little ditties. Like if I could play more, I'd start jamming with people that were on here too. I've got.
I would do it if the
local
tech
ones.
setup wasn't so much.
Yeah. That definitely is its own thing.
That's like a 4-hour setup process, and then there's teardown and all that.
And tech is
I
like
did that.
hard to get sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
man, I have this cool little device called a Korg's Chaosilator. Man, that
Yep.
thing is fucking cool. I
It
bought
is
that
very
because
cool.
I used to watch a guy named Beardy Man. You familiar with him?
I feel like I've heard that name.
He British beatboxer that used an array of chaosilators and chaos pads to create live music on the go. Amazing stuff. His shows were really something else to watch. Now he uses the thing called a Beardytron 5000, which is basically like 5 tablets and 2 keyboards wrapped up with all these custom-made programs. And you look at it and you're like, I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's just touching circles and tapping knobs, but he's making crazy music out there, which is how I kind of got into also like a little bit of beatboxing, which I used to like when I was a lot younger. We kind of lost that.
Beatboxing's cool.
I want beatboxing and record scratching back. I want record scratching back. God damn it! It's so underutilized.
I was just playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and there's a track in there that has tons of record scratching. I couldn't believe it. It's a ridiculous song.
I'll have to go back and check that out. I know Final Fantasy's
Yeah.
got good music.
Man, I'm obsessed with the last like couple Final Fantasy soundtracks. Like listen to them nonstop.
I've never played
I mean,
a single Final Fantasy game in my life.
yeah, you might like it, you might not like it. I don't know. I really enjoy it. It's right up my alley. But I grew up with that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So sort of step back because I always like to ramble off on things. I've got this thing, and for the life of me, I have not been able to figure out for a while how to get it into my computer because I just don't know. You know what I mean? And Chaos Pads are not like the most popular device, and so looking up information on how to do certain things and why certain things work the way they do, I don't understand because I can. You'll hear it. You know, I make the sound. It'll go into the Chaos Pad. I can hear it on my headphones just fine. Hook it up to my what do I have here? I have it's a Pile PMX something or other. It's a studio mixer. It's very nice. I like it a lot. I put it into there. I hear it fine. I put it through OBS. I can't fucking hear it anymore. And they're like, oh yeah, it's how like the devices track with each other, and because of the specific one I have, they ran their audio tracks in a way that I don't understand, but when it comes into the computer and comes back out, you can't fucking hear it anymore. Or it's very, very quiet, you know what I mean? And so audio technical stuff is like my biggest hurdle when it comes to like the type of content creation I'm doing.
It can be very frustrating.
It is. Oh my goodness. And there's so many little mini programs to like try and fix this and try and do that. I don't know if it's the right one. And now I've got to look up 30 videos from 2014 that are like super old and probably not even on the same version of Windows and all this other nonsense that gets into it. Trying to hook up stuff to the computer is the most frustrating thing I've encountered in my life. It's certainly a bit of a beast. And I'm not the smartest guy, you know. I'm pretty smart in some ways, but when it comes to the tech side, it gets a little complicated for me.
No, to be honest, like even as somebody who works with audio tech all the time, I still find it frustrating. Um, I just had a device that I was programming some MIDI commands, so I was making it so that my computer was going to do all my guitar foot switching for me, which you can do now, which is great. Uh, but it turns out the cable I had was a little janky, and so it worked only 75% of the time, so it only sent some of the commands.
Mm.
Um, and I was trying to diagnose this for like 3 hours, and I was like, "Oh my God, like what is happening? Why? Why?"
Yeah, that's me half the time I'm trying to start Minecraft mod packs that I'm building my own. Oh my lord. One mod breaks another mod. Now I've got to unactivate every mod and go through one by one which one interacts with which one. Oh my lord. Now I got
Hmm.
to do all this troubleshooting, and I don't mind it that much, but it takes up time. And it's just like if I could just figure out a little bit easier. like to
Everything's hard now. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah, things definitely seem to be a lot more complicated than they used to be.
However, you can do amazing stuff now, like that
Yeah.
you couldn't do 10 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever. So there's a give and take to it. It's complicated, but you got to work for it, and it sucks. And sometimes it'll never work.
Yeah, and sometimes you can get good stuff out. The one stream, I bought a
Yeah.
foot pedal because, like, watching Beardy Man made me realize you could put anything through anything.
Hmm.
you know, it's just about
Somewhat.
yeah, somewhat. So I've got a foot pedal that I'll throw a mic into, and then start talking, and then I have like sort of reverbs and like
Hmm.
reverses and stuff on it, and neat little things I can mess around with, and then I could even be as like unhinged as plugging it through the Chaos Pad or plugging the Chaos Pad through it into the thing, and then I'm like, oh wait, I could take my Game Boy and I could hook that up into the Chaos Pad, and like
People do that.
yeah, it's so that was one of the first things. It was between watching Beardy Man and watching you, actually, specifically you, because I'd never seen anybody just hook a Game Boy up. I was like, wait a second, you can do that? Oh yeah, it's got an audio cable. I mean, I guess you can. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I started kind of going through that. I'd hook up the Game Boy into my really junk version of the Chaos Pad I originally had because my mom bought me the wrong one. That's not her fault. She didn't know what she was getting. She was just trying to get me the thing that she thought I wanted. I still
Of
used it
course.
for a while, and so I could sort of on the live like manipulate what I had pumping through there, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm like vibing with it, and I need to find more stuff on the calculator because it's kind of a complicated device. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
easy to understand. Looping is like it's tough. Trying to understand like all right, I tap the button. Now I go in. I'm watching the timer, and it took forever to figure out how the timer works for me, so that when I go bop ba da bop bop, all right, cool. So it should go bop ba da bop bop, bop ba da bop bop, bop ba da bop bop. But instead, it's like bop ba da bop bop, and suddenly I realized like, oh, what I was doing was like at the end of the timing track, and so when it loops back over, it like loops itself weird, and it's because like the I'm just not good at reading manuals, and so then I'm trying to understand how the looping works, and then I literally had to go back and physically watch Beardy Man. Oh, he presses now, does the thing. Let's go.
Yep.
Oh, okay. And so I had to go all the way back to watch this guy to even figure out how the hell to work this thing because it's just an odd device. Not everything is going to have tutorials on it. Like I don't know if you know what data moshing is.
Yeah, I do.
It's okay, yeah. Data moshing's weird, very hard to do. Because you need to remove a specific type of frame. Didn't even know they existed. Never heard of P
Yeah.
frames. I thought it was just iframes. There's iframes and P frames, and then you remove certain frames from it, and then it like distorts the thing. And so I had to download this program called a
It looks
Vitamux.
really cool.
It does. I love data moshing. I got into that from watching Off the Air. First place I ever saw it. And so trying to learn a Vitamux and then learning, oh, well, how do I do this? Oh, well, somebody over here on Reddit wrote a script that auto scripts it out. Okay, cool. Thanks, man. Let me go grab that and put that into here. And it's really nice though that there are people that do things for this because finding tutorials for everything isn't really that easy, especially if you start getting into weird nitty gritty devices and technology and mixing of things. Like I had to dig forever to find out why my track wasn't going through an OBS, and it still doesn't work. I still don't know how to get it to work with my Chaos later, and it's such a shame because I would love to have. So what I really want to do, because I'm not good at music, but I really like soundscapes. Just kind of setting scenes with sound. I love it. Oh, it's so good. And I would love to be able to do that with the calculator, with the pedal. You know what I mean? Just set up a show where I'm not really making music. I'm just sort of creating a feeling. But until I figure out how to get this calculator stuff working, I can't do that. But it's definitely something I want to step into.
If you want to experiment with soundscapes, you should look up a free program called Paul Stretch.
Paul, like
Yeah,
P-A-U-L?
like the name. Yeah, like the name.
Okay. Paul Stretch.
I used it on Roots actually. I think the intro track is using Paul Stretch,
Okay. I'll check that out.
and it's free. It's really fun. And you can run anything through it, and you'll get soundscape magic. I promise.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out. Because I like that stuff. Because again, like I said, I have a very hard time understanding how to even create a melody because I've never spent any time making music. But from a video making standpoint, I understand setting scenes and matching scenes and sounds to a certain type of vibe. It comes from playing a lot of video games and stuff, and that I love. So I definitely really want to do something interesting like that because it's fun. You know what I mean? I like creating.
It is fun.
I'm kind of getting really tired of playing video games, and I'm trying to find more things to do. Mostly because I think video games have kind of fallen to the wayside as far as quality. I don't. There's not a lot of games that interest me that have come out in the last like decade. A lot of indie stuff. Indie scenes are really where video games are popping pretty hard. Honestly, like
For sure.
I don't care about GTA 6. I don't care when it comes out. I'm not getting it. I don't care about the newest Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, blah blah blah. Whatever.
No, me neither.
Lethal Company has me by the balls. That game is very fun, and it's just four idiots wandering around picking stuff up. I really like it.
That's how I feel about Square Enix. They've got me.
Yeah, old Square Enix. I haven't played Kingdom Hearts 3, but I really don't want to.
I actually haven't played it either, but
The
all the Final
descriptions.
Fantasy and Dragon Quest games I'm all about.
Bro, Dragon Quest 8. Oh, I need to go back and play it. I have it emulated on my PC because I couldn't hope to find a copy of that right now, I don't think. It's even
I just
harder.
replayed 11. It's really, really good.
I have a couple of them on my Steam wish list because I really want to go back and play other ones. I've literally only played Dragon Quest Monsters and Dragon Quest 8. But damn, I love Dragon Quest 8. It's a
8's
very fun
phenomenal.
game.
I like 11 quite a bit. And they just re-released 3 as well. So
Okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, that's
yeah,
one of them where they also made it so that it's you can swap between the 3D and then the old 2D graphics as well. I
I
saw
believe
that
so.
in one of
Yeah.
them, which I was like, that's pretty cool. I like when they do that. I liked when Halo did that for the Master Chief Collection. I swap it through the old graphics every time because Halo just looked so good. I love Halo. Also, ridiculous music, dude.
Oh yeah.
Nothing's gonna beat that OG Halo song. It's so good. It's got the chanting, it's got the ominous, it's tied to a big space epic, and I love space epics. I like space. Big fan. Anything space related, fiction wise, I really like. And Halo fit that so well, so well.
Me too. That sort of like really dramatic, big orchestral vibe is kind of what I'm going for the new music I'm working on now. So
Yeah.
hopefully it turns out awesome. I mean, I'm really a big fan of the tracks I have finished, but yeah, stuff like Halo, maybe not that specifically, but like that sort of vibe, I'm definitely going for. That's
Another one I've been playing recently, I would call it a space epic. Some people might call me insane, but it's a game called Honkai Star Rail. It's from the
I haven't
guys.
heard of that one.
Yeah, it's from the guys who made Genshin Impact.
Okay.
Not a big fan of Genshin. I tried it. It's fine. They also just made Zenless Zone Zero. Pretty tight game actually. That one's pretty good. But Honkai Star Rail is about a character who's on this like basically a spacefaring train, and you're traveling from different planet to different planets trying to save them from these things called Stellarons. But it fits that big space feel. Like the opening song sounds like Halo to me. Not that it literally sounds like the Halo song, but it would fit into Halo, but in a more positive way rather than I don't know about gritty. Not as serious, I guess. Halo feels serious. Like you're like,
Yeah, it does. There's gravitas.
oh yeah, gravitas. That's what it is. And Honkai kind of takes that out, but it's still really good. It's more of a calming space epic. It's weird. The music in it's very interesting. I like it a lot. Lots of electronic-y sort of sounds going on there. Little interesting things. Then It's funny too because they take it over Zenless, totally different, very poppy and city punky type of stuff, very electronic. Their music, his sound design in the Hoyo games are great. They're all really good. They know what they're doing when it comes to music. Other good space game. Well, the game's not as good, but the sound design is peak is No Man's Sky.
Oh yeah,
I do not like No Man's Sky very much. I've been there since
that's
the
fine.
yeah. I've been there since pre-order because I'm a pre-order guy. So I've been
They
suffering for a
sold the hell out of that
long
game.
time. Yeah. It's a lot better than it used to be. Still not great, but I think that's kind of a problem of the core gameplay loop rather than the whole game itself. But damn,
sure.
man, every time you fly into that space station the first time and you hear those guitars going, it's so good. All the sound design when you're activating your helmet from the robot headpiece talking to you, and the robot headpiece has this sort of auto-tuneness to it, but it's not quite auto-tune because there's also like a robotic filter over top of it as well. Like, it's so good. Video game sound design, I could go on and on about for hours. There's so much good stuff.
Myself.
Man, well, yeah, I mean, that's what you do. That's your whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, Pokemon.
I'm always studying.
Pokemon's been doing slapper banger music forever. All their stuff is great. Driftvale City is probably still the best song they've ever made. It's like da na 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 na, and I'm just like, ooh yeah, ooh ah. It's like bopping out. It's like Pokemon music's funky. You know, a lot of funky, poppy, very upbeat music. You know what I mean? You definitely feel like you're on an adventure when you're listening to Pokemon music. They keyed that in very, very well. I've never played any, but the music for Mega Man, amazing, fantastic stuff.
Huge Mega Man fan. Hey, I'm probably gonna have to wrap things up in a minute or two.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, this has been a long time, so I was surprised you even stayed this long.
Yeah, it's been fun. Just being a big nerd over here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love talking about all kinds of stuff.
I've been enjoying you're very passionate, and it's interesting the way you speak about music, like as a enjoyer of music. So like the words you use are different than the ones that I would use, and I find that really interesting. So I don't know, it's been a fun learning experience, like hearing the way that you talk about different genres of music and how they affect you, and because I think that's like really valuable, and people don't talk about that very much. They just say I like this or I like that or whatever. But um, I've been enjoying your sort of the way you speak about the things that like speak to you.
Thank you. I think I overwhelm my poor guests on Sundays because when we do album swaps, they're like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." All right, they're like, "It was fine," and I'm over here like going and going and going because that's just what I like to do. You know what I mean? I like vibing about music. So thank you for
Sure.
For noticing that because that's the thing. You know, the thing is there. So
Well, as an artist myself, I'm always trying to like figure out how to make compelling music that like gets people excited about, what they're listening to. And so, like for me, it's like valuable, almost like market research. That's a shitty way to put it.
No, I understand absolutely. It's not even a shitty way. You're trying to understand how people are feeling about it, and like that's
Yeah. I
that's
want to
what
know
we
how
do.
other people. I know how I feel about my own music, and at the end of the day, I'm just trying to make things that I think sound cool. But I like hearing how other people are interfacing
Yeah,
with
well, I'm definitely
different
going
kinds
to
of
be
music.
throwing in one of your albums at least for one of our album swaps.
Heck yeah.
You force these guys to listen to some good stuff. Not that they don't listen to good stuff. I'm just a judgmental asshole. That's all it is. But this has been a
That
great
sounds like a
time,
fun
man.
exercise. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you ever want to come on for an album swap? You let me know. We're always here on Sundays. If you ever want to
Maybe I
come
will.
back on, talk about music, whatever, man. We're always around. I'm always around. I love talking music.
Sweet.
Yeah, so everybody, this has been Danimal Cannon. Check him out. I assume you're on pretty much most places.
Yeah, if you just type Danimal Cannon into the internet, you'll find a dozen different ways to find me,
Do
whether
you like
it's a
Danimals?
website. They're good. I have yogurt every day. I don't necessarily have
I was like, I
um
didn't even think to ask you about that name. I'm gonna
yeah.
hold that. I'll hold that for another invitation. I'll ask
For
you
the
about the
next one,
history on
write
that.
that one down.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is a story.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm gonna hold you to that one then, because I want to hear that.
Yeah.
So everybody, this has been the episode. We'll catch up again. I'll be back on Sunday later.